Hello friends, welcome to today's video. We are going to be talking about books that I have read in March and April. I'm including March just because we actually have moved. If you want to know more about that, I have a video showing you our new property that we moved to. We moved to kind of like a more rural farm area. Well, it is a more rural farm area. I'm in the middle of a field. So if you want to check it out, I'll link that video down below to my other lifestyle channel. If you want to see that video there, feel free to check it out because this is my book channel. And if we have not met, hi, my name is Tanya. And yeah, so we're here to talk about the books. I'm including March and April as well, just because, again, to get those out there for you as well. Most of the books that I actually read the past couple months have been on Kindle and on KU. I'll try to point out if they are or not. Obviously that can change, but a lot of, if they are, I'll try to remind you guys. And yeah, I have a couple in print, and I'll also try to put on the screen the breakdown of the genres, if that's interesting to you, whether, you know, whatever. So I'll put that up here for you to see, because I also don't even know off the top of my head. Probably a lot of romance, because it is something I like to read, but I did actually read a few other things as well. One of the books I read, I guess I'll kind of just go in order. I go off my Goodreads, which I'll also try to remember to link down below. The first book that I read in March, and it's actually part of a series by Rebecca Yarros. I'm trying to get through a lot of her books. I really enjoy the way she writes her romance books, and it is the fourth book in the Flight and Glory series. I have really enjoyed it. It follows the characters of Josh and Ember. It's December technically, but Ember. So I don't want to give too much away because they're also, I believe, from the first book. So if you haven't read it, but it's a romance, it's like military pilots kind of thing. And I don't know, I really enjoyed it. And like I've mentioned, maybe if you see some of my other videos, I really like how Rebecca Yarros writes her romances, and there's just a good actual plot, because sometimes romances are just, they're not written the best, and I really like the way she does write hers, and I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. Again, it was really nice to be back in that world and to kind of see the continuation of this couple from, I believe, the first book. So I really enjoyed it, 4 out of 5. Then this book was actually a DNF. It's the one DNF that I had in these past couple months, but it is The Duke and I, and it's, if you're not aware, I think this is what the Bridgerton series is based on, and I had watched season 1 and 2. I really liked, you know, the show, and so I thought I would try the books, because normally the books are better, and this is one of those cases where, for me at least, in my opinion, the show was better than the book. I don't know what it is. I know obviously a lot of people love these books, and I don't know what I was expecting. I thought I would really love it because I do like historical romances, and I loved kind of the setting of them. But for some reason, the story to me, just how I was trying to listen to it on audio, and it just was really like, it was just boring to me. I don't know why. It didn't really, I can kind of see where I feel like I understand why the show to me personally appealed more than the book. I don't know why. The book just felt really slow. I didn't really like, I almost felt like I didn't really feel a connection between the characters, as in like when I watched the show, I was like, oh wow, you can totally see the connection. Whereas in the book, I was just like, I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't seeing it, which is really surprising because normally books are better than the show. But for me, I tried. I think I got through like 60%. I was just like, no, DNF. Life is too short. I cannot be reading books I'm just not into. And I gave it, I guess, 2 stars. I don't know. Like, it was okay. I liked the historical elements. I liked the setting. I liked the whole idea of the family and everything. But for some reason, it just wasn't meshing, and I just was like, no. So this was a DNF for me, and I definitely will not be continuing with the rest of the series. I think I'll just watch the show when it's on, but it was one of those where, I don't know, maybe it's also the writing. Maybe I'll have to try something else by this author, but I just did not like it, and no. That was a no for me, unfortunately. Then the next book that I read was the last book in the Rebecca Yarros series, Fight and Glory. It was book number 5, which was The Reality of Everything. And I also did really enjoy this one as well. Ended up rating it 4 out of 5 stars. And I really liked this one because it was a little bit different. It follows one of the characters from the other books in that whole world, and she's kind of given a second. I don't want to give too much away because it has to do with some things that have happened in the other book, so I'm not going to give it away. But it's it's following one of the main characters and her story, essentially, of finding healing from trauma, and also finding romance. And she kind of moves. It's like a small town, I would say, but I really enjoyed this one. It's also a single dad kind of trope, but it was done really well. Again, I don't want to give it away, but I was really glad that this character, she got kind of her chance to finally find love, because if you've read any other books, it's just that there was a lot that I feel like she kind of went through, and so I really enjoyed this book and seeing also like her healing through that, but still, yeah, I just really liked it, and I love the feel. I love the banter too. They were so funny together, and again, it's just written really well, that there's more than just like a romance. It's a really good story as well, and I really liked it. It also kind of makes me sad because now I'm like, oh, I've read the whole series, like I'm not going to be in that world anymore. So it was like a bittersweet, you know, like ending. I think it ended really well too. So I don't know, overall it was just a really great experience. I would really recommend that series if you're looking for like a good romance. That whole Flight and Glory series by Rebecca Yarros, I've really enjoyed. Then I actually have been trying to get a little bit more into some nonfiction. We don't want to go too crazy because nonfiction is hard for me, but I'm slowly trying. And I've noticed that memoir sometimes is a good way, especially if it is on audio. And so one memoir that I decided to try, I got from Libby, was the Counting the Cost, and it is by Jill Duggar, I think. Well, yeah, it's by Jill Duggar, and she's one of the kind of like the Duggar family. I don't really know much about it because I didn't really watch the show. I know they did like the 19 and Counting. They're like the people that have a lot of kids, and so they had a show on TLC and all these different shows. But I just decided to try it out because, again, I didn't know much, and I thought it'd be interesting to hear from her side, her being in the family, like her opinion, because I think sometimes you see stuff, you know, in the media and you don't really know, and you kind of want to hear it from the person. And so it was really interesting. It's hard to rate a memoir because it's her life. I do think it was an interesting, I listened to it and it was nice because it's narrated by her. It was nice to hear it from her point of view. And there's things I definitely learned that I didn't know. Like I said, I didn't really watch the show. And so I think it was really parts that were sad and were like, it was challenging to read, just kind of hearing how she felt as a kid growing up and the things that happened to her growing up. But it was also interesting. I think that's kind of how a memoir, you know, always is. It's like, it's life, so there's things that are really hard. But it was, I think it was also challenging to hear like a lot of things that she went through because of things that her dad particularly did. So I don't have the greatest feelings leaving out of it about her dad, but yeah, it was just an interesting experience. And again, not stuff that I knew a lot about, but if you are curious, if you had followed that family, maybe you've already read it, but in case, I mean, try checking it out. I thought it was written pretty well. It wasn't too bad to follow. Some memoirs sometimes are all over the place, and I felt like it did flow pretty well, and I kept up with the story and was able to understand it pretty well. I didn't really rate it because it's hard to rate a memoir like it's somebody's life, but I'd say written wise, I think it was written pretty well. It's not super long, and it's a pretty quick read or listen if you are doing it as an audiobook. So yeah, I thought it was good as informing, and it was something different to get a little break from fiction read. And the next book that I read, this is on Kindle Unlimited currently, and I was so excited to read this because it's something I'd heard about a while ago, and it is the beginning of a series, and I actually rated this book 5 stars, and I'm like, maybe, but I think I am keeping it at 5 stars because I flew through this book, and it is called The Naturals, and it is by the same author that did the Hawthorne series, and I liked parts of that series. I never finished it, but it kind of, I don't know, I didn't love it as much as some people did, and it's a YA series by that same author. But The Naturals, it's kind of like the Criminal Minds is what it's described as, Criminal Minds but young adult. And I actually did really enjoy it. There were parts of it, I'm a total baby. I could never actually watch the real Criminal Minds. I tried, and then I had like severe nightmares. I cannot watch anything scary because I'm just a total baby. I can't. And even with this series, I can't read it before bed because, again, I'll be scared even though it's young adult. But basically it follows these young adults, and they all have different kind of skills. It's not like supernatural and like that, but it's like just like Criminal Minds, they have different skills. Like one is a profiler, and one can like identify lies, and one can really read people's facial expressions. So it's actually like learned skills, and a lot of them are kind of like geniuses or savants in their field. And so they are, the Naturals is what they're called. They're kind of a group of these young adults that are trying to help solve crimes, particularly like cold cases and like serial killers and stuff like that. And so I really was just kind of in the mood for a young adult thriller, and I was like, you know, kind of situation. I thought it was really good. What I also really loved was that the chapters are kind of short. They give you a few different point of views. If you read the book, I don't want to give it away, but I thought it was written well. It had good elements of mystery, just enough drama to keep you intrigued. Also, I liked that I thought I had figured out the twist, but I didn't. So I was glad that, you know, kind of that I was tricked, because I always love it when I don't get the ending, because I'm like, ah, yeah, like it makes it more fun. So I really enjoyed it, and I'm actually reading the second one right now already, but the first one is on Kindle Unlimited if you do have it. So I think give it a try if you're into mystery books or even wanting a YA, but I'm really liking the series. I thought it was really fun, and like, again, especially if you liked Criminal Minds, check it out. But even if you don't, I think you would still enjoy it. I personally did too. It wasn't too scary, gory, or anything like that, and I was able to read it, and it was a really fun time. So I'm really excited to read the rest of this series, and I hope it's just as good as the first one. And this next book, again, trying to read different things and not kind of out of my comfort zone, is that I wanted to continue with reading Spy Family, which is a manga. And my husband is this is like one of his favorites. He loves like all different kinds of manga, but he really loved this one. And so I decided to give it a try. I found it at the library. I ended up rating it 3 out of 5. I think it's just different for me. It's not my comfort zone. I would say that this is more of a manga that's kind of for me. I'm not really into some of like the high fantasy different stuff. It's not really my cup of tea, I guess, but this one was an interesting experience. It follows kind of what the title says, a spy family. And again, I don't want to give it away because this is the second book, but basically, essentially, there's a family that's kind of like a spy, and they have this mission, this overall mission throughout the series that they need to get through, and they're kind of like a found family in a way. And so, yeah, it just follows that. It's a quick read. It's different. It's interesting. It's a little bit of drama, mystery. But I really like the characters. It's fun. I just don't know if it's like my favorite thing because, again, it's just something that's very different for me and I'm not really used to manga. But it's, yeah, 3 out of 5. I am liking it. I'm going to maybe try to continue, but I'm definitely not like in a rush to get to it, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, 3 out of 5 for that one. Okay, then the next book, this was also a nonfiction read, which is like, who is this? Who is this person reading these nonfiction books? This is actually like a self-help book. It is this book, and it is called Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. How will I say it? This book, people have told me a lot to read this. It's hard because it's a tough topic. I will say this. If you are an adult and you have struggled having a healthy relationship with your parents and you feel like you just struggle and you have a hard time with them and connecting with them, and you feel, I don't know, just like a lot of, and I'm not trying to be, you know, like, I don't know, airing out my laundry or whatever, but if you have struggled with that and you're kind of, you feel like, is it just me? Am I weird? Like, people, you know, my parents seem to be great and everyone else seems to love them, but then like when I tried to explain my relationship, like it just, people don't get it. I recommend try reading this book, because when I read this book, I think there's something very like supportive and just that validifies you when you read something that's written by a professional that just explains and puts into words your life and your thinking. And when I was reading this, I was like, oh my gosh, it's like this person saw my life, saw exactly how I was feeling, and put it in here. And then on top of that was able to offer professional like advice. I don't know, I don't get too much into it because again, it's kind of personal, but I would recommend this. I ended up rating it, I think, a 4 out of 5. I love it because it also, a lot of it and how the information is given to you is through stories of other people. So like patients or like clients that this person has worked with, and giving some of their scenarios. And so it kind of makes it more of like a fiction or like a story read, because it's not just like a, here's this help and tell you about stuff, but like it's interesting to read it that way. And again, if you have read this book and you know, like it's just, and it's also just very helpful. So this is definitely one like nonfiction book that I'm so glad I read, and it's just giving me a lot of ways as an adult to identify things just from my childhood and things from my past, and also how I can try to work on them now as an adult and to move on, or like just kind of deal with those things and to find healing through some of the stuff. So I really enjoyed it, and if you also have read it, please let me know. But I definitely can see all the hype, and if you are in that place where it totally relates to your life, yep, it is totally a necessary read. Amazing. The next book that I read was First Lie Wins, and this one I actually read on Kindle, but I did also have it in print from Book of the Month, and this one was interesting. I ended up rating it 4 out of 5. I thought it was really good. It kept me engaged. It had shorter chapters for the most part, and it follows a woman named Evie Porter, and I guess I'll go to you to kind of, so it says Evie Porter has everything a nice southern girl could want: a doted boyfriend, a house with a white picket fence, a tight group of friends. The only catch, Evie Porter doesn't exist. And so then you're kind of trying to figure out like what is going on. Is it like stolen identity, mistaken identity, and you're slowly figuring out more as the story goes on. I really liked it because, again, I liked it that I didn't guess the ending. Parts of it I thought I did, but I didn't, so that was a really fun read. And overall, I thought it was pretty engaging. I would say I was nervous that it would be something kind of more scary, like psychological, and it wasn't. It's more, I don't want to give it away, but like, what would I call it? I would almost say not like spies, but like secret kind of thing. Like, it's not like a scary psychological thing, because I don't know why, for some reason when I saw the cover, that's what I thought it would be, and I was kind of nervous, but it's not anything like that. It's more like political thriller, not even political, I don't know, like domestic thriller kind of thing. Like, it's not like a psychological thing, but I thought it was actually pretty good. So 4 out of 5. Yeah, there was some good twists in there that I didn't see coming. Some I did, but overall, it was a really fun, like, mystery read. I would say it's more mystery than thriller is what I would say. So really, I like this one. And the last 3 that I ended up reading and I just really got sucked into was a romance series, and it is something that was recommended to me by my book bestie Laura, and she had loved this series, and she was like, we kind of have similar tastes, and she was like, you should try it. And I was like, okay, but I never really got into it, and I was like, fine, I'll give it a try. Oh, it was so fun. And it is the Motorcycle Club Romances by Ashley Munoz. Is that Munoz? Yeah. And it was just so fun. And right now that she has 3 books out, I have read all 3. I got up to them. It was just really fun. I wouldn't say that they're my most favorite romances or things about that weren't really me, but it was still a really fun world. And so, kind of like what I mentioned, it follows a motorcycle club world. Am I anything at all like a motorcycle club world? No, nothing at all. I'm a stay-at-home mom of like 3 kids. I'm a teacher. Like, you know, I'm like not at all the motorcycle club, but for some reason I really enjoyed reading it. It's just a fun experience. And so it follows this motorcycle club and just the people in that world, and each book focuses on a different couple. I have to say the first book was my favorite. These books do have spice. Some of the spice definitely was not, I didn't really like it, and so I like skipped, I don't know, it was just not my cup of tea, and I skipped through it, but the overall world and the characters and like found family, I really enjoyed. The first book, like I said, was my favorite, and it's like childhood friends to lovers, I would say, is a story. Then the second one is kind of, I wouldn't say enemies, but kind of like they didn't really like each other, but they did, sort of. I don't know how to explain it, but I don't want to give it away. That's the second book. And then the third one is like fake marriage kind of trope, but I don't know, I really like the whole series, the whole world. There's things that continue through like mystery kind of within the series, but then each one is also like an individual story that follows. But I definitely would recommend starting from book 1 because there's stuff that makes more sense. Like, you know, don't read it out of order. Start with book 1, which I really like that one anyway too. It's my favorite. And then there is one more book, I think, in the series, which I am so excited for because the characters in there, with Natty and Silas, they are going to be in book 4, and they're talked about all through the other books. and I'm just really, really hoping that they live up to the hype, because I've been wanting this, like, their stories so bad. And I think it comes out in June. I'm so excited, and I'm just so excited that I found the series. The whole series is on KU as well, so if you have it, it's like easy to access that way. But I am really excited that I have found this whole series and this author. I really like it because it is a romance, but I love the whole world that it's in, because it's not something that I know a lot about. But it's just, I think, give it a try. If you, especially, like, I like some mafia romances as well, so maybe try and see if you like it, because I was never, like, I didn't really read anything with motorcycle romance. I was like, I don't really know, but I really like it because I think it also just focuses more on the relationship as well, and not just the whole, like, motorcycle world. There's, like, more to it. And so anyway, so I really enjoyed it. I ate it up. I read through each book, like, in 2 days. It was a really fun time. I think the first book was my favorite. I think I rated it like 4.5. The second one was 4 stars, and then the third one was 3, just because I don't know why I had a harder time connecting with the third couple. And I mean, it was a good story. I still was super sucked into it, but I really had a hard time. I, like, wasn't really feeling it. And yeah, but I mean, it's still really great. But the fourth one, I can't wait. So really excited. But those are the books that I read in March and April. So let me know down below, what have you guys been reading? What has been your favorite book, or maybe your least favorite? Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.